Warning: the following video is raw and unscripted. Ranting and rambling may occur. Viewer discretion is advised.
Don't let the ghosts and the ghouls disturb you.
Alright guys, welcome to the first video for my new segment called Serial Killers. Let's get started, guys. Ooh, got a nifty avatar spoon. We'll put that together in just a second. Behold, mighty bowl of Apple Jacks. Let's get started. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Josh from Nightmare On Woodsboro Lake. I apologize. I am not out in my my space because it's actually blocked in by a bunch of snow, and I don't really feel like shoveling this morning. But welcome to my first episode of Serial Killers, where we'll kind of chat a little bit about, what makes a serial killer or things that can contribute to that decision in life, while enjoying a nice bowl of cereal. And as before, you saw my Apple Jacks came with an avatar spoon. So you know what? In the spirit of, when you were a kid, you'd open that box of cereal and it come with like a toy or a special edition like little spoon. Like no matter how dinky it was, you're just like super excited about it. Well, this one is for the movie Avatar 2 that's coming out here this coming week. So, yeah, in the spirit of that, I'll enjoy this bowl of cereal with that spoon. If I could... Does it snap on? Does it screw on? How do we do this, fam? Just kidding. It must just like... There we go. Now did it... Come around? No? Oh. Alright, well. It's got a little design like those floating... God, I can't remember what those were. Like organisms from Avatar. So, yeah, let's get started, guys. So, back in 2012, 2013, I went to college. I really wanted to major in psychology. So I took some psychology courses, ended up taking sociology courses, and then ultimately I took criminology courses. I'm a little bit rusty here, so we'll just do more of speculation and a little bit of facts. But so there are many ways a person can become like a serial killer. Not everyone's born that way. Ultimately, you can have the whole nature versus nurture debate. The fact of growing up in your environment and what pushes you to that extent. Can lead to some dark decisions down the road because you are subjected to all these events and things going on in your life that can really just make you feel alone and in a dark place. You know, if you're getting picked on at school, beaten at home, you know, you witness your mom and everyone else around you being, you know, subjectified and abused and just downright treated like crap. Um, you know, sometimes that leads to a vengeance thing. Sometimes that can lead to, for me, I grew up in a home that my stepfather was abusive, and not just physically but mentally, and he was just not a very good person. And ultimately I decided for myself that I was not going to be like him in any way, shape, or form, and I would never let myself get to that point. So I grew and I learned from it, but that's not always the case with everyone. Um, you've got people that they go down a dark road because it feels like very hopeless and very, you just build up this anger and resentment. Um, and sometimes it's subconsciously you start to pick up mannerisms too. That's always like a thing that can happen, as you'll start to acquire those, I don't want to say attributions, just like I said before, the mannerisms. You'll start to pick up on those things, and sometimes it's not, you're not consciously thinking about it, but you're portraying some of those things as well. Um, I mean, as controversial as it is, and this isn't real life, but take a look at the route that they tried to take with Rob Zombie's Halloween. Michael was being bullied at school. His home life was crap. His mom was a stripper. Um, Stepdad or whatever was a complete asshole. And made Michael feel very small and very, you know, insignificant. And he turned to, like, he ended up killing his rat, I think. It's been a while since I've seen it. But he had the power over a life, and he felt big, you know, because all around him he was like being treated like dirt and insignificant. So I don't know. With some people, that, I guess, even like, I think that even went on with Jeffrey Dahmer. Um, Started with animals, you know, and it's because they're small, or and the one, depending on what you pick, obviously, if it's like a rat or a squirrel or, you know, fish or whatever, cat, like, they're smaller than you. They're not as strong as you are. So that gives you a sense of control and power. And ultimately, you know, obviously that escalated for those two, you know. They were like, they found some kind of appeasement in that and totally ran with it. So, I mean, that should have been a red flag for their family. That he, I mean, obviously, I think they hit it pretty well, and they were like, "Oh no, he died!" Like, but I don't know if they would have saw the corpses, they might have thought otherwise. You know, like, yeah, how did they die? Is a real question. And I feel like that's more on the nurture side of things. Some people, I mean, I don't know. I'm always on the fence about this, but you know, they say some people are just born evil. Um, I don't know if that's due to like you know, like some mental deficiencies and just like don't want to say like, I'm trying to be very careful the way I word things. Just a lack of understanding and a lack of like a mental capacity for things. Um, I mean, otherwise, I don't know how anyone can just be born and just be like evil. I think it has to be nurtured. I don't think, in my opinion, that people are just born just evil. Um, but I mean, I've watched plenty of things about like I've watched several things about Jeffrey Dahmer, about Ted Bundy, about the Green River Killer, and like all these different killers. And a lot of them, I mean, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. We don't know how their family really treated them, but it seemed like they had pretty relatively normal upbringings. Um, so it begs a lot of questions. I mean, and some people, shoot, they'll blame cinema, video games, things like that. Um, I mean, because let's be honest, a lot of video games, a lot of movies are very violent. I mean, come on, but that also, I mean, that can be true. I guess like people that are subjectified to that might take it a different way because they just have a different train of thought, a different like mindset. I mean, I watch horror movies all the time. You don't see me having the urge to go out and kill anyone or, you know, torture people or do anything like I see in the movies. But some people, they glorify it and they're like, I'll tell you a little bit about my thought process on horror. I love horror. I love all these iconic horror characters. But the main thing that I really take from horror movies, which who knows, I might get hate for this or not, but I love seeing the struggle of good and evil. I love seeing the good prevail over the evil. I mean, there's people that go right into it for carnage candy and just want to see people die. Whatever floats your boat. I like seeing your Nancys. I like seeing your Sidney Prescotts. I love seeing your Tommy Jarvis. I love, you know, seeing these hero and heroine characters and these final characters defeat evil. And no matter how badass I think Jason looks or Ghostface looks or any of those characters, like how they look and how brutal they are, ultimately I love seeing them get defeated. So leave a comment below, let me know how you feel about it. But that's just me. I love overcoming the darkness. But some people, like I said, love the gore, the carnage candy, and actually want to see the bad guy win. And some people I can see probably taking that far, and like they look up to these horror icons and want to be more like them. It's just like anybody else you want to look up to and you want to be just like whether that's an older sibling or like an actor or stunts or anyone in the world that you're just like you want to grow up and be like them. So like I guess it can happen for horror characters too that aren't real. Look at you. I mean, like as a kid, I wanted to be a Power Ranger. I wanted to be Batman. Like those aren't real people, but to me they were. Like in a sense, I knew it was a TV show or a movie, but I feel like sometimes cinema emulates life. And there are vigilantes out there. There are people who fight for good and, for justice. So, I mean, it's not too far-fetched. I mean, aside from being like a billionaire who flies around in the night, battling some characters that are like a little more than realistic. Some of them are, some of them aren't. But yeah, I feel like this is all speculation. There's so many different routes people can take to become serial killers or murderers or anything like that. Some of it hops into more of the sociology aspect of being in a group where like you want to be accepted, you feel like you belong, and they want you to like go out and kill someone, like with like gangs or things like that. There's that aspect too of just wanting to fit in, um, and that means going to great lengths to be accepted. I'm really interested in, I would love to chat with like an actual serial killer. I mean, I've seen all like these documentaries and videos and movies and like portrayals of serial killers. But how crazy would it be to sit right across from one, feel their energy in the room, and just get it firsthand, like mano y mano. Which that's not saying that all serial killers are men. Obviously, history has proved that not right. I mean, I've had some instances in my life that have been pretty crazy. Like, one time I found out that my dentist in my small town that I grew up in, and I was very young at the time, I was like elementary, middle school almost. He stabbed his wife 12 times with a pair of scissors and dumped her body in a pool. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy was in my mouth, and like I was in a room with him. Like, how many chances did he have to think about? Like, I don't know. I mean, who knows the story behind? I don't remember exactly what led to this, or if they were having like marital problems or crime of passion or what. But it made me really uneasy, moving forward and finding another dentist. I think after that, you just don't feel comfortable anymore. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of times I drive down the road and I like see houses and I'm like, I wonder if any of these houses, if there's someone being tortured in it or have been killed in it, or like, or like, you never know. You never know who you live next to. You never know who you're friends with exactly, unless you're like super, super close and there's like no secrets, like, which there's always secrets. But, between that and a couple of years ago, luckily I moved away from this area, but we were watching Netflix, and all of a sudden there's like this commotion outside, and we see that there's a gentleman with his, like, literally his intestines or stuff he's holding as they're kind of coming out a little bit, like, from what I could see. Like, I mean, my vision's not the greatest, but like I could see that, and my wife and I were like, holy shit, like, And then a few minutes later, you know, we were like, "Do we call the cops?" Like, yeah, we should. Like, you know, and like panicking. Sure enough, somebody already had called like the cops and an ambulance and everything. Um, Found out the guy had wandered like quite a ways from like there was like a gas station like 5 minutes up the road from us. Um, he had been past there and had like wandered through the gas station, and I think somebody must have reported it there, but or something. But he had made his way into our neighborhood, and ended up, you know, all these cops showed up. There was ambulances and like I'll have to find the video, but I recorded some of it because natural curiosity and you know just craziness. I didn't record the part where I saw him stumbling around, but I recorded the part where like the ambulance and all them were there. I felt like that was taken a little too far to record him like freaking dying or you know whatever on the street. Which I wonder. I heard a little bit after that the fact of that night, but I didn't follow up. He was rushed to the hospital. He was in like critical condition. I don't know if he died or not. I'll have to like look that up now. Now I want to know because like that story is like unfinished for me now. I haven't even thought about it in years. Um, but it, I read an article later that supposedly the guy they believe did it was sitting right there at the end of the road. They saw like a weird van sitting there with their lights off, and it was like idling, and they thought it was a little weird. And I guess that van all of a sudden took off, and there ended up being a pursuit. Um, God, like something straight out of a movie. Um, but that was scary. I didn't sleep that night. I locked all our doors, and my house is a little older, so like I heard like any creak or noise, I was just like paranoid. My biggest worry, because I've come to learn not to fear much in my life. I used to be always afraid, like, um, but I do fear being asleep and someone coming in, not making a peep, and slitting our throats, and mainly like my wife. You know, I could care less about myself as much as my wife. Like, do not hurt my wife or my. I mean, I have a child on the way. So that's always been like a stressor for me. Anytime I hear noises at night, like sometimes I get like alert. Because one time we actually had a guy or somebody. I woke up in the middle of the night. My mom was staying with us. She had come out to see us. And I heard like the door rattling furiously out front. Like, these people were not being very chalant about it. They were like shaking my door trying to get in. And I went and got my gun. And by the time I made it up front and like looked at the people, there was nobody there. And I like stepped outside, nobody there. But I was ready to go. Because, you know, I had like all my loved ones with me. You can mess with me, but not the people I care about. But yeah, the reason I took all those courses because I was just interested in the mind mainly. Like it wasn't for me. It wasn't about I don't know trying to be a profiler or do anything like that. It was like just knowing the mind and how it works because it's a crazy thing. You know, you can actually make yourself sick and not be sick based on just like your mental state. The mind is a powerful thing. Um, and what kicked that off for me was actually seeing the movie A Beautiful Mind, which I believe was Russell Crowe was the main character in that movie. But, you know, thinking he was like a code cracker for the government, he was making up people in his life, and having like a dissociative disorder of some sort. I haven't, sorry, I haven't seen it in a long time, but it made me really start to wonder how much of my life is real, and I started to trip myself out after seeing that in psychology in high school. So then that's when I decided I wanted to go a little further into the psychology. And then I've met people, like, I don't know if they're on drugs or if this was like a mental disorder, but there's like a disorder called visions of grandeur, and this individual was telling me that there was these people after them. They wouldn't let them use the computer at the library. They were tracking them, like, and like, be careful. Like, there, this is a conversation on a bus. Like, I think I was just out of high school at the time, but at the time I didn't know of that disorder, and I was just like, dude, this person is absolutely bonkers. Um, they thought that they were so important and that they had something that, I don't know, the Men in Black or somebody wanted. But I guess it could be like a mental state of mind that can lead to, you know, deciding to kill someone. People can be pushed to the brink and snap. People can grow up in an environment where it doesn't seem so bad. Like, oh, I saw my dad beat my mom to crap. That's okay. Like, that's just the way it is. It's not. I just don't understand how people can justify it. But I don't know. There just might be. There could be a significant event that happens in someone's life to get divorced, their spouse or family member is murdered, that becomes a vengeance thing, and they just don't feel satisfied. You know, especially like we've all seen it. Like someone kills someone out of vengeance, and they do not feel peace. You know, a life for a life is not going to bring you any kind of closure or joy. I'd rather see. Obviously, I would be burning red mad if someone killed someone I cared about. But at the same time, I'm level-headed enough that I feel like I'd rather see them rot with their decisions for the rest of their life. Be like, here, let's make it easy for you, and just cut it short for them. No, they need to suffer for what they've done. I feel like, obviously, a lot of people won't agree with me on that. You know, let them suffer, let them, or you know, let them be electrocuted, let them be death by lethal injection, whatever punishment is suitable for the crime and the place that they've done it. You know, I mean, look at all the crazy, you know, way laws are handled in different countries. You know, like if you steal, you lose the hand you stole with. Like, I mean, different places, different justice. But sorry if this video is like wild right now. I'm just like just waking up, getting my breakfast, and just reflecting on what makes a serial killer a serial killer. Um, you know, and I could have sat here the whole time and just given you a bunch of horror references, like, because, you know, obviously people have motives in movies. I mean, they're not, some of them are not far off. Like, look at Billy Loomis from Scream. He's like, my mother, you know, she abandoned us because your mom slept with my dad. You broke up our family. And he was just lashing out, which I don't know if murder was the best option, but. And then that brings in the whole sociology aspect of Stu. Like I said, some people just want to be accepted, and that's their. He did whatever Billy wanted to do. I don't think Stu had any vendetta. He just wanted to appease his best friend Billy. And then look at down the road, Scream 2. Billy's mom, you killed my son. Like, well, you weren't in your son's life anyway, but. And then you've got Jason. I mean, he drowned in the lake, but then he supposedly didn't drown, and then he was like living out in the wilderness, and ended up seeing his mom be decapitated. That set him off on a vengeance, and you know, just the fact that camp counselors weren't paying any attention to him, he was being picked on. I guess so. You know, like I said, art imitates life. Like these movies, some of them far-fetched, some of them a little closer to home than you would think. But yeah, there's so many contributing factors that can lead to a person deciding that they're going to be a murderer or a serial killer, or, you know, God, any of the multiple branch offs of that. But I guess the main focus of this video is I just want to chat with you guys about this. Like, you know, what do you think of when you're watching these movies and you're seeing these documentaries, and like, you know, do you have any thoughts on what might make a killer a killer? I'd love to hear what you think. I'd love to hear your opinions. See if you have any insights that I haven't thought of. Like, I could literally go on a tangent forever, it feels like, because there's so much that goes into it. And like I said, I believe it's a nurture thing. I don't think it's purely nature. I feel like we all have it in us. I mean, I've learned that in some of my courses, that we all have certain factors and certain things about us in our genetic makeup that we could do it if pushed to the right point, or if the right event happens in our life, or, you know, it's a speculation, of course, but like, everyone is capable. It's just the people who act on it. So I feel like, yeah, it's nurture. Like, it's, some of it is nature, but most of it is nurture. But yeah, definitely leave a comment below. Share what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your opinions, and just some friendly banter. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, as always. And yeah, as always, keep killing it out there, my friends, and just remember, don't get caught.